Alright, hello folks. Today we're going to be back working on the diesel powered air compressor build. So in the last video, if you've not seen it, I'll have a card to that video. What we did in that video is basically modify this engine to work as a compressor. So when you turn it, it sucks in through the intake and blows out through this little check valve here. And today we're going to be working on pulleys. So I ordered some pulleys here, and you might say, well, what's this thing? This is not just a pulley, that's a centrifugal clutch as well. Well, this is going to go on this engine, and the reason we have a centrifugal clutch is because if you think about it, when you go to start this thing, when it's all connected up to this engine, if it was just hard mounted with two pulleys and a belt, when you pull it over, it'd be pulling over this one as well. And this is pretty hard to turn, so it'd be really difficult to start. And you know, it's nice. I'm not sure exactly where like the stall speed is or the engagement speed of this, but it should be probably around 1900 to 2000 RPM, somewhere in that range. And this thing supposedly spins up to around 3000 RPM, so we should be able to fully engage this clutch. But there's an issue. This shaft is a 20 millimeter shaft, and 20 millimeter parts are very rare, and if you manage to find them, they're very expensive. So this is a 3/4 inch inner diameter, inner bore, whatever you want to call it, and so it's slightly smaller. It's more equivalent to 19 millimeters. And so we're going to have to grind down or sand down, shave down this shaft. I don't have a lathe, so it's going to look a little rough, but we should be able to get it down to the point where this will slide on here, because you only have to take off 1 millimeter, so it's not like a ton of material. And then this one is an even better situation. I believe this is around 17 millimeters. It's a really odd size shaft, and I couldn't find anything that was that size. So the closest thing is 5/8, and 5/8 is actually very close to this. So it almost goes on there. It goes on the tapered part, but when it gets to the full size, it stops. So we're going to need to take material off this. And I have a feeling these fins are going to get in the way, so I might break them off or something, because, I mean, we don't need fins here, and that's just going to get in the way. But if we mount it like this with this collar facing in, it should be able to sit correctly on there. So yeah, sorry I've been talking a lot, but it's kind of a complicated situation we got going. So I'm going to be shaving down both of these shafts and trying to fit those pulleys on there. Alright, so what I'm planning to do is run this engine and try to hold, this is like some, here's the thing, we don't even have good sandpaper. This is this is just like this grip tape stuff, but I mean, it should work to take off material. It might not last long, but I'm going to spin this shaft while the engine's running, and then just hold this on there to hopefully get it even and see if it'll take off material. I mean, it should. Probably won't do it fast. We might be here for several hours. I hope not. But and I'm going to angle the exhaust away from me, which is the nice thing about this exhaust. Dang, someone put this thing on here super tight. Loosen this up and angle it in a different direction so it's not blasting you or whatever. End it up. Oh, Oh, that is so hot. I probably should have let... Hey, it got shinier. I mean, we polished it, but we need to do more than that. It definitely is not fitting yet. I feel like I should have some water to put on this this shaft here, because it's going to get really hot and I don't want to like melt this main bearing or anything. Alright, so I have some water and I was trying to like cool that off with this water so it won't get too hot. And we're going to be using, I'm going to switch to using this, which is 80 grit sandpaper for the orbital disc sander. And it should work to, if I just hold it on here, it's kind of not round though. I bet you I can cut off one of these sides so it will be round. Alright, here's our gadget, and this should maybe work better. You can. It's a beast to get started though. So you have to use the compression release. So pull it until it like feels like it's locking up. Actually, let me put the fuel on first.
Okay.
The throttle. Okay, so pull it until it feels like it locks up.
Oh god. Yep. Right there.
Just slowly pull it. Okay. And then I'll push this down, and now you can pull it hard.
That's not...
Yeah, you gotta pull it really fast.
Dude, this one's way harder than the
It is
go
way
kart.
harder. It's
Not going to.
hard. So yeah, pull it a little more, and then.
I'm pulling with all my strength right now.
Yeah, I know. It's.
Try to. That was close.
That was close. It almost. The key is, yeah, it's hard to get over that compression stroke, but once you do, it'll start up.
That might help it like go in. Just step on this. Sorry.
Alright, so after a lot of work, we managed to get this on. And you can see by how much metal shavings are everywhere, covering the gas tank and everywhere, that it took a lot. But we got it down, and this goes on. I'll show you what the shaft looks like. So this is 1 millimeter taken off. Doesn't look a lot different, but we managed to keep it pretty consistent, I think. And now goes right on. So I'll just need to get a bolt that'll fit in there, and we already have the washers. So that's this part done. Now we can work on getting the other pulley to fit this shaft. Okay, so here's the one-way check valve that we put in the last video, but we don't need that in because that'll just restrict flow. So now we'll be able to spin it faster. Okay, so the pulley we're going to be putting on this engine is this one. So this is already almost fitting, but not quite. So I feel like these fins might get in the way. I can break them off because I don't need them. But yeah, that's not going to go in very far. So hammer time, I guess. Okay. Well, that's fine.
You're working.
Oh, that
was a clean one.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would not have fit prior to this, and now it does. Excellent. It's not very clean break on some of this though. Okay. So I guess we can try that a little bit. See if it fits now.
That was quite a bit of sanding. A little warm.
Yeah, it doesn't get as hot, so it's not spinning as fast.
Yeah, that's all more.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, like you said,
I guess we don't even need to go any further. I can't go any further because it'll hit those fins. Okay, so it looks like we got it on pretty quickly. This one went much quicker. So this has a set screw, so we can just crank that down. It still needs a little key though. It's called a half moon key is what this one needs, but I do not have one at the moment. Okay, now it's good. Okay, so we need one of these bolts to go on the end of here, just a longer one and not stripped out, and then that'll work great. Alright, it's the next day, and I just got back from a long, hard day at work, an 8-hour day, so I'm a little bit spent, no doubt. But we got some more parts at the parts store, and so we're going to put this on. So we have a belt that should be roughly the right size for this. We got the bolt and those half moon, whatever they call it, keyways or keys. We also have this washer which is off a lawnmower, and that'll work just fine for this. It's weird, my thumb is still numb from yesterday with all that vibrating and sanding. I think I actually may have like permanent nerve damage. I hope not, but it's weird. It's been numb for over 24 hours. Now one issue is, when we were grinding the shaft, I think it got ground slightly unevenly because of the vibration of the engine, so the shaft now has a slight wobble to it, which I would be concerned about if I was running a chain off this, but since we're running a very small flexible belt, I'm not worried at all about it because any vibrations will just be mitigated with this. So yeah, I'm really not worried about that. Then we have our keyway. I think this key is slightly too fat, so I'm gonna sand it down. Alright, so I managed to get it on. It took a bit of work to get that key filed down or sanded down to the right size, but now it is. And I also was able to actually mount these fins back on here. So now it's got fins on this side and this side. These won't do much because it's spinning the wrong direction, so they'll be facing backwards, so it won't produce much air. But I don't know, it looks kind of cool. I don't know, I'll probably take them off, but it looks cool. It looks like an impeller. Well, actually it is an impeller, so it's supposed to look like that. Alright, so I'm going to try to start the diesel engine and kind of see how it works. Yeah, that centrifugal clutch works. Put on a low throttle setting so it won't engage it in theory. Okay, we have a big problem. Not with this engine. This setup's going good so far. But what isn't going good is this table. I was finding screws laying around, and I know why. That wheel just came off. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. I was trying to do some really stupid thing where I try to hold it and get it to spin that over. But well, I need to fix the table first. I got the wheel fixed. So, as you can see, the engagement point of that clutch, the RPM, is pretty good. It's right around the middle of the throttle or RPM range of this engine, which is pretty much perfect. I mean, this rod made all the difference, so this table stayed right in place instead of bouncing all over the place. Okay, so I took apart a table that we were using for other purposes, and so now we have a bunch of lumber that we can use to build a frame to put these on, and so we can properly link them together. And this will just be a temporary wooden frame as we're doing the testing phase of getting this built until we can get a more permanent setup. Alright, so I've measured out 2 foot by 1 foot, which is the dimensions of the top piece, and I'm going to cut it out with a circular saw because we don't have a table saw. Going hot, maybe. And here's our 4 legs. Alright, it's time to screw these legs on. That was maybe 3-4 hours of work. And we're done, it looks like. Now, I never said this thing was going to be beautiful, and it's pretty ugly, especially since it had black paint on it, and now it's partially sanded off, and some pieces don't have any. So it looks terrible, but it's very functional. It's super solid. I mean, I way over-engineered this thing to be solid as a rock. I mean, you could see I left this hole here as an access panel so you can, hold the nuts and put in the bolts and everything to hold the engines down. Alright, it's time to drill the holes for the compressor mount. All right. Well, it's been a day or two since I made this frame, and there were some issues with getting the right bolt sizes because the studs that are on these little mounts here, these little mounts are extremely short. They're only about a 1/2 inch. So this plywood, I had to countersink the holes a lot and get the right bolts that are small enough and everything. And I don't know if you can see under there, but this is what one of the holes looks like for this mount. So you can see, yeah, it's pretty deep in there. So this thing only has 3 of them because one of these had broken off at some point a long time ago. But I think it feels pretty solid. Any wobble you're seeing is because this is on rubber mounts, which should actually help dampen vibrations. And then this diesel engine is really well mounted. It has washers and bolts going through there, cranked down, and I cut it in a slot so this whole engine can move when you're tightening it to tension this belt. And I think it's at a pretty good tension. You don't want to tighten it so much that you don't have flex. You want a little bit of flex like this. You don't want it to be like a banjo string. But I think this is good. We have enough clearance here that shouldn't hit any of that. Yeah, I think we're ready for a test fire. I don't have the check valve in it. All right, here goes nothing. Okay. It moves. Oh, by the way, this thing weighs like 100 pounds. This whole setup is a bear to move. Ah! 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 At least diesel exhaust doesn't get very hot. Well, it does, but it doesn't get nearly as hot as gas exhaust, so it won't get burned on it. Alright, now time for the scary test. We're going to pop in that check valve again. Alright, so it'll have a lot more resistance this time. Now I put the check valve in. Yeah. Yeah, it works. I gotta put a bigger valve, check valve in here though, because it blows out every time I run it. It's too small, it doesn't get enough airflow. But it works. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of this diesel powered compressor build. And there will be more parts to this series. We're not done yet. If you have ideas or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. A little bit.
Okay, sorry.